I'm the publisher of the Arab American News, and I will be moderating this exceptional panel discussion on this extraordinary night. Tonight, as we gather here, the media is converging on Dearborn from all over the world to report on how Arab American and Muslim Americans going to vote tomorrow in the presidential primary election. The presidential primary election will start tomorrow, February 27, on Tuesday. At 7 o'clock in the morning, the polls will open, and they will close at 8 p.m. More importantly, is what the people in Gaza is waiting for us to carry their pain and suffering to the polls, and by casting our votes on their behalf against Joe Biden to punish him for what he has done in the last 4.5 years in their devastation in Gaza. The whole world is going to be reporting tomorrow after 8 p.m. what we have done between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. It's only a few minutes that will take you to cast your vote. Very simple, straightforward. There is nothing to it. If you do not do it between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m., you will lose an opportunity to exercise your right to tell how angry you are from what Joe Biden has done all along the 4.5 months since the Gaza war started. With me here tonight in the studio to help exploring the possibilities and the responsibilities of our community in tomorrow's election is an distinguished panel that from our community that will help me and everyone else understand what is at stake tomorrow. On my left is my brother Asad Torfi, is the Deputy Wayne County Executive. Next to him is my brother Khalid Shajra, Executive Member of the Yemeni American Council. Next to him is my brother Sam Baidoun, Wayne County Commissioner. Next to him is my daughter, Lexi Zaidan, spokesperson to Listen to Michigan. Next to her is my son, Al-Abbas Farhat, Michigan State Representative. And on my right is my dear friend and brother, Amr Zahar, President of the New Generation of Palestine. And may the discussion begin. Thank you for joining us. Like I said, that tomorrow is an exceptional day. We as a community have been suffering and we have lacked sleep. And some of us cried. I am one of the people who cried several times when I saw people being slaughtered in Gaza. And I'm sure all of you have felt the same way, and even more. I know some of you have children, some of you don't. Maybe you will have children. You've seen how the children in Gaza have been slaughtered in a way that's unprecedented in modern history. We have a chance tomorrow to send a message to the president that we are not happy. The larger the number of votes, the louder the message is. Our community has gathered its strength, and we have asked, vote for anyone, but not Joe Biden. We are recommending to vote uncommitted. But if you choose to do something else, that's fine, but don't vote for Joe Biden. Now, I'm going to turn to you, Mr. Torfi. You have probably occupied, right now you occupy the highest office that an Arab American in Wayne County has. And you have seen the suffering of the people in Gaza. What would you say about tomorrow, how important tomorrow is?
Tomorrow, I believe, is an opportunity to have our voices be heard. and one of the best ways to have your voices be heard is in the ballot box. A vote tomorrow for an uncommitted, or like you said, anybody but Joe Biden, is a vote for Gaza and humanity. What's happening in Gaza is an attack on all humanity. The images, the pictures that we have seen, being up at night, not being able to sleep. And I remember one night in general when the attacks first started. And I remember listening to one of the TikToks that was being shared and throughout the community on multiple WhatsApp group chats. They were doing, instead of doing the Adhan from the mosque was calling for prayer and asking the world to come and help them. And there was nothing that the world would do. They were just listening, but nobody was doing anything while they were being bombed. Tomorrow, on Tuesday, between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m., every person living in the state of Michigan could go and cast a ballot for those people and those individuals that are being slaughtered in Palestine and other places in the Arab world.
My brother Khalid, you are among the leaders in the community, and you have a feeling of what's happening in Gaza, and not only in Gaza, what's happening in Yemen as well. Because all of us know that what Yemen is doing in order to support Gaza by trying to exert pressure on the world stage and the trade in order to stop the war against the civilians in Gaza. And I am sure that casualties are not being reported properly from Yemen, but there is certainly sacrifices have been given and have been paid in Yemen heavily in the last couple of weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. As one of our leaders and a leader in the community, in the Yemeni community, how do you see that tomorrow's election is, and what do you see our community doing? Because I'm afraid, to be honest with you, I'm afraid of the laziness to take place. I'm afraid that let somebody else do it. I'm afraid that my vote is not going to make any difference. I'm afraid that what is the difference in here? Tomorrow, the result is going to be Joe Biden, the nominee of the Democratic presidential race, and Trump will be the Republican presidential candidate. And so why should we vote? Why should we vote tomorrow?
So for the past 4 decades, Osama, we've been struggling in every election. We always say this is a very important election. To us as a community, as a human being, this is a defining moment for us. We're not just electing someone for a public office, we are saving a life. So to us in the Yemeni American community, our vote is to save a life. And we are proud in the Yemeni American community that as the Gaza children are dying and being buried, at the same time Yemeni children are dying. And that is a choice that we have taken. And our responsibility, and I'm not speaking to only Yemenis or Arab Americans or Muslims, I'm speaking to Ruh al-Ruh, the soul of souls. I have something in common with them, with the name Khalid. I'm a grandfather. If that does not shake you as a human being, then you need to check your humanity. So this message is to everyone that hears this. And we need you to be also an ambassador to carry that message to those people who are not listening to this message. Tomorrow's vote is to save Gaza children.
Well, I want you to say a few words in Arabic, if you don't mind, to the community, not only to the Yemeni community, بس للعرب، للجالية العربية. لأنه اليوم لو سمحتوا لي بس بالكلمة باللغة العربية، اليوم نحن عم نعيش بمخاض، بعتقد هو يمكن المخاض الأقصى والأكثر شدة على هذه الجالية منذ بداية وجودها. يعني لا سبتمبر 11 ولا أي حدث صار في تاريخ. أنا صار لي 40 سنة بشتغل بجالية و40 سنة في صدى الوطن، ما شاهدت أكثر قساوة من ما يحدث اليوم في غزة على هذه الجالية وعلى هذه الأمة بشكل عام، الأمة العربية كلها من كل جوانبها، من أقصاها إلى أقصاها. طيب، أمامنا نحن اليوم قرار، هذا القرار إنه نصوت، وهو قرار بسيط جدا، يعني هو مش بس حق، هذا واجب علينا أن نصوت، أن نشارك في العملية الانتخابية، لأنه إذا ما صوتنا بيضيع صوتنا، وإذا ما صوتنا رح يجرسونا أهالي غزة اللي هن منتظرين منا النجدة، لأنه العالم العربي بثبات عميق، نايمين الأخوان كلهم، ما في إلا اليمن ولبنان والعراق اللي هن واقفين، وسوريا اللي واقفين إلى جانب الشعب الفلسطيني في غزة. نحن هون ما عندنا سلاح، سلاحنا هو التصويت، سلاحنا هو الكلمة، سلاحنا هو صراخ في صندوق الاقتراع.
نعم.
كيف فينا نقول للناس قديش الجرح عميق جدا في هذه الجالية، وانه تضميد هذا الجرح يبدأ غدا في انتخابات مصيرية لنا؟
نعم أخي أسامة، غدا هي فرصة تاريخية، لأنه اليوم الذي نستطيع أن نحدد موقفنا، فلازم أن احنا ننسى العالم العربي والدول العربية والجامعة العربية، لن يستطيعوا يعملوا أي شيء،
ولا الأمم المتحدة.
نعم، ولا الأمم المتحدة ولا بايدن. الآن هم ينظروا، بايدن ينظر إلى الانتخابات تبع ميشيغان، ترامب ينظر إلى الانتخابات تبع ميشيغان، العالم كله ينظر إلينا، فلازم أن احنا ننسى الآخرين. والحمد لله الآن أصبح لنا دور، وهو أن احنا نستطيع أن نثبت أنه ميشيغان العرب يستطيعوا يأثروا على ميشيغان، وإن شاء الله نأثر على الانتخابات الرئيسية. فهذه الرسالة، إذا بدك أن يوقف الحرب في غزة لازم أن أنت تشارك غدا، وهذه مسؤولية عليك أنت كمسلم كعربي كإنسان.
Sam, I know that you have been a voice of, for the first time that I've ever seen you, always you have been compromising on things and always been soft person when it comes to politics. But this time you have really taken the shields down and you have decided yet you wanted to go in with your gloves, and sometimes you have taken your gloves off in this crisis. How do you see us doing tomorrow? I am concerned about tomorrow.
Thank you, Osama. You know, I may have been soft in the past and just being diplomatic, if you will, but when you see a genocide taking place in front of us on live TV and you see the images of dead children, I'm a father of 4 children. I have 2 beautiful grandchildren. And I can't imagine, thank you, I can't imagine anyone who has children, grandchildren, would approve of the slaughtering of innocent civilians and would like these images coming out of Gaza, children being dragged from underneath the rubble. We've been calling for a ceasefire for over 4.5 months. We have passed resolutions in the cities of Dearborn Heights, and in Wayne County, and in the city of Detroit.
And 75 other cities.
And 75 other cities. And our calls for a ceasefire have fallen on deaf ears. Okay? They're not listening to us. And we feel in the community that Joe Biden has betrayed us. He told us that he's going to govern with humanity. He has governed the opposite of humanity. The way things are going, you would think, how can Joe Biden wake up in the morning and look at some of these images, if they are allowing him to see these images, and would accept this and not call for a ceasefire? We've already surpassed 30,000 dead Palestinians and about 8,000 or 10,000 unaccounted for presumed dead. What I really would like to see tomorrow, I would like to see at least 60 or 70,000 uncommitted votes from the area of Dearborn Heights and other areas, to send a loud and strong message to the president that we don't approve. You didn't listen to us when we called for a ceasefire, and here's our message to you. We are voting uncommitted, okay? And this Arab American community is going to have a major role come November. He won Michigan by 150,000 votes. And the overwhelming majority, over 70%, voted for the president in November of 2020. Well, guess what? We are the 3%. We are looking at the 3% that's going to swing the election either way. They keep threatening us. Well, if you don't vote for President Biden, then you're going to get Donald Trump. You know what? It's not on us. We didn't ask for this. He needs to change course, and he has not been willing to change course. So it is not our fault if Donald Trump gets back into the White House. The President of the United States should be doing everything within his power to make sure that Donald Trump, who stumped on the Constitution on January 6th, not to get back into the White House. And he has not been doing that. It's on him. It's his fault. So I'm hoping tomorrow we have a high turnout, and I'm going to ask everyone that's listening, if you have been moved and touched by what's going on in Gaza, come out tomorrow and vote uncommitted. This vote is for the children of Gaza.
Well, it's very interesting that you mentioned, Sam, that about us having this number of votes, because according to statistics that we had about 146,000 Arab American casted votes in 2020. He won by 154,000.
Yes.
So we are a difficult number in this equation. However, we are not alone in this election.
Of course.
And having said that, I wanted to turn to an activist and a person that has done a great deal of work in our community and the potential of becoming more and more active in the future, Lexi Zaidan. When we talk about other communities, you are in touch with other communities. And I know that other communities feel pretty much as we feel. They're not probably as we are as sad as we are. Of course they are sometimes. It depends on how human they are and how much they know about the conflict, because the media in here has blacked out anything that's coming out of Gaza other than the social media. So I know that there are other communities, and the young in America, and especially in Michigan, are on our side. Tell me a little bit about the activities that you have in college and among the youth. How are they feeling about tomorrow's election?
Yeah, what I'll say is I think the Listen to Michigan Vote Uncommitted strategy has, in a sense, inspired a lot of people to find a third way to express their frustration in a time where you would experience or should be experiencing voter apathy, where people feel like their vote doesn't matter. You've actually re-inspired people to understand that their vote does matter, and we've given them a reason to understand what it is that their voices are able to, what messages they're able to send. And particularly with young voters, people underestimate young voters, and young voters are actually the voters that are right now very anti-establishment, anti-Democrat, anti-Republican. And there's been many conversations I've had with students across different campuses that are saying we're tired of Democrats saying that we're not Republican and think that that's going to suffice. And so they're incredibly motivated and mobilized right now to get behind the Vote Uncommitted. They've been canvassing, phone banking, text banking, going to their groups on campus and sending the message that we are no longer going to stand for a president that signs off on genocide. And you also cannot weaponize this conversation around, but Trump is the worst option. They're not buying that either. And what you're seeing is a younger generation that is ready to revolutionize the way we think about how we approach elections in this two-party system. The conversations I've had, sadly enough, they said that they're tired of living in a society that has really increased suicide rates among our younger kids. And particularly the conversation around, we can take $95 billion like that and send it to foreign countries for war, yet we're experiencing trillions of dollars in student debt. We're experiencing a housing crisis. Rent is incredibly high. We could barely pay our workers, a wage that they deserve. And for some odd and godforsaken reason, with the snap of our fingers, we're constantly sending aid to a foreign country like Israel, whose policies are actually sitting in direct opposition with our democratic values. And under all these different premises of seeing our country being able to fund war, but you can't feed the poor here in our country or house the poor here in our country, people are waking up and they're realizing that. And it's the young voters that are mobilizing to ensure that the message gets out.
Are you tomorrow? Are you going to have people at the polls? Are you manning the polls?
Yeah,
here in
we
East
have
Dearborn, West Dearborn, all day.
Yeah, there's volunteers.
You guys
that
are going to
will
have slates maybe to pass
Yep.
to people.
Yep.
And in every precinct, precinct in the.
We're going to
Dearborn area?
station. I mean, we pulled some information on what are the highest polling locations and prioritizing highest polling locations depending on number of volunteers, and then going from there.
Good. Back to you. I mean, or forward to you. Forward to you, Al Abbas Farhad, the second youngest ever entered the chamber in Lansing. We're very proud of who you are and what you've been doing for even first term state representative. But you are a state representative at a time when it's probably the most difficult for you in a Democratic Party that is not responsive to the needs of our community. And tomorrow is an election, and I know that everyone is saying abandon Biden and vote against Biden in this community, and even some Democrats and elected Democrats. How, as an elected Democrat yourself in the State House, see this election tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll say I think Michigan is unique in that the Arab population, الشعب العرب هون موجودين, have done a remarkable job coalition building, making this an issue of human rights, making this an issue for every single parent, son, daughter, father, brother can relate to. When they turn on the television and they see a young child being murdered, when they see kids starving to death, they see a mom sifting through rubble until their fingers are bleeding to find the body of their kid. I mean, these are graphic to think about, and it's uncomfortable to think about it. But we have the obligation to share these stories. In Lansing, that's the number one conversation I get is it true that the Arab Americans in Dearborn are thinking of sitting this election out? And I say that is as true as the party wants it to be. They have the ability to hit the switch. They have the ability to move things in motion. But I'll be honest, Osama, and I'll say this to the panel, I like to believe it's never too late to do it's never too late to start doing the right thing. But man, oh man, it's getting late. 30,000 dead. 100,000 casualties.
From your constituents, Al Abbas, are you hearing from your constituents tomorrow? Are they going to go out and vote? Are you encouraging them? Have you done anything to encourage the community to go out and vote? Because a lot of people really don't know what presidential primary is all about in our community. There has been a lot of education, and I know that, I'm going to talk about this with Amr in a minute, but we at AIPAC, and I know that we are members of AIPAC. He's a member of AIPAC. He's a member of AIPAC, and he's a member of AIPAC, and you are a member of AIPAC too. And AIPAC, the AIPAC with an A. So we have done something that we're going to talk about in a minute. That we have done a mailing actually to Dearborn voters, asking them to go out and vote tomorrow, and we've explained what is at stake, and. I wanted to hear from you that have you contacted your constituents, encouraging them to go out and vote?
I've endorsed an uncommitted vote in the primary.
Right.
I've also been putting it on my social media stories and my pages to tell people go vote uncommitted. This is the time for us to truly express. I think Assad, the deputy county executive, just made this point right now. This is our chance to wield our political power. This is our chance to send a message. And I will say this before turning it back over to you, Osama. Shame on us. Shame on us if we cannot wake up and take 5 minutes out of our day to go and vote, to send a message while there are children in Gaza that are dying, while there are parents that are burying their children, while there are people wondering when their next meal will come, and those that are in fear that the roof above their heads will collapse at any minute. Shame on us all. And I mean this very, very broadly, not just Arab, but Michiganders that sit this election out and do not go to the polls and make it clear that we need a permanent ceasefire now.
Well, thank you, Abbas. Amr, I know that you have worked with the AIPAC on the flyer that was sent to thousands of voters in Dearborn, encouraging them. Actually, they got it already in the mailbox. And encouraging them to go out and vote for anyone, but don't vote for Biden. And if they want to vote committed, fine. If they wanted to vote with a bubble that's under-committed and say Free Palestine, to do that as well, because this is considered also a vote. So would you explain what AIPAC has done for this election, and also how are you encouraging people? I know people listen to you. You are not funny, but you are sometimes you are funny. So go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, I mean, at the Arab American Political Action Committee, we sent out 15,000 flyers to Arab households in Dearborn, encouraging them to vote anything but Biden. And the reason that it's a broad campaign from our end is because we want to show the distinction and the stark difference between 2020 and 2024. In 2020, there's always been this narrative about our community that we don't vote as a bloc and we don't go out and vote. Well, that's not true. We've done very well and improved a lot over the years. And in 2020, we got out and voted very strongly as a bloc for Bernie Sanders in the primary, and then we voted very strongly as a bloc for Joe Biden in the general election. In the general election, Arab Americans in Dearborn voted something like 80 to 90% for Joe Biden over Donald Trump. That's an amazing number, right? A huge number. That's a bloc vote. What we're going to see tomorrow, hopefully, is that in those same precincts that voted 80% for Joe Biden 4 years ago against Donald Trump, the next time they got a chance to see his name, he's only going to get 10 or 15% against everything else, whether it's an uncommitted vote on the Democratic side, the Republican side, a write-in, somebody's angry enough to go pull a Republican ballot, whatever it is. He's going to perform very terribly in our neighborhoods.
Even if you pull a Republican ballot, which we're going to put on the screen if we have it already. I don't know, Ismail, do we still have the ballot somewhere? Maybe we can put on the ballot that we have 3 ballots.
Yeah.
We have a ballot that's Democrat. When you walk in to a precinct to vote tomorrow, you're going to ask for either a Democrat ballot or a Republican ballot or a no declaration party ballot. No declaration party ballot. Pardon?
No, it's not
No,
independent.
it's not independent. It's no declaration.
You want me to explain it?
It's no declaration party.
No, you want me to explain the whole
Yeah,
thing? Or?
these
Okay.
are 3 ballots. We're going to put them on the screen so people can see them. The 3 ballots are available in every precinct. So if you're a Democrat, go ahead and pull the Democrat and vote the uncommitted or fill the bubble under the committed and say Free Palestine. We encourage to vote for anyone but Biden on the Democrat. On the Republican side, if you would indulge us in voting uncommitted as well, because those will be counted too as uncommitted. And this will be a stronger message from our community to the Republican and to the Democrats. It will add with the other uncommitted to see how many votes have been casted in this primary and how many uncommitted and unresolved, they call it unresolved things. The unresolved is
unresolved write-in.
The unresolved is the writing. If you say Free Palestine, if you say Osama Siblani, Amir Zahar, if you put anything under one bubble, and at the same time, I wanted to be very clear on this, because I'm afraid that people may get excited and they may write on the ballot something. Do not write on the ballot anything on the ballot itself, but there is a bubble circle, يعني دويرة هيك فاضي، حدها فاضي، ما في شيء empty next to it. هيدي بس الوحيدة اللي موجودة على البالت بالpresidential race.
Right in
You can, it's not written right and it's a bubble and we'll show it.
Yeah.
This you can fill it and don't fill anything else, because if you fill something else, it means that your ballot is spoiled. خلاص انتهى البالت تاعولك بقولك اياه بالزبالة مثل كأنك ما صوتت ولا تعبت.
Well, no, the machine will tell you that it didn't accept it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they'll give it back to you to fix it.
So this is important for us to know. Vote uncommitted. If you wanted to vote something else, don't vote for Biden. That is the issue in here. And if
Yeah.
you are even voting Republican, there is uncommitted on the Republican, vote uncommitted.
Yeah.
And also on no declaration party, there is no presidential race. So please don't pick this one because it's important you pick a party and vote uncommitted or fill in the bubble. That's very important. Now I want you to explain it a little bit more as are you going to put it on, Abbas? Yeah. I wanted to thank Abbas, Ishab. We are in the studio, in his studio in here with Ismail, and everyone else is trying to help us in this broadcast, exceptional broadcast on this really important night as we prepare for tomorrow's election. Amr, you wanted to expand a little bit more about.
Yeah, if I don't know if it's going to be on the screen now, but if it's going to be on the screen, I'll explain it. But yes, when you go into the polling place tomorrow in Dearborn, so in Dearborn, you'll have a choice of 3 ballots because we have other things on the ballot. We
Right.
have a school millage, which also we're encouraging people to vote yes on both of those of school millages.
Yes, for the Dearborn Public School, and yes for the
Henry Ford College.
Yes.
Now, in most other cities, you'll have 2 choices, which is the Republican. Remember, tomorrow is only the presidential race. It's not congressional or Senate. Those are not until August. Tomorrow is only presidential. In many jurisdictions, you'll only have 2 choices, Republican or Democrat. And remember, Michigan is an open primary state, so you don't have to declare a party. Even if you voted Republican your whole life and you want to pull the Democratic ballot tomorrow, you can do that. Make sure you pull a presidential ballot, like Osama says. Don't pull the no party preference. You might walk in saying to yourself, you know, I hate all the presidential things, so I'm just going to pull the no party preference. We're asking people not to do that. Pick one of the presidential ballots and make your voice heard, because we want to see out of Dearborn, especially in the Arab neighborhoods, that we have a high number of votes and a very low number of them for Joe Biden. That's the point. The point is to show that this community has turned. And I think we can show that quite clearly and quite starkly. I mean, like a full turn. Like 80% voted for him last time and 80% vote against him this time. That's what we're going to see tomorrow.
And it's important. It's really, really important to do that, because you see, today and yesterday and tomorrow and probably on Wednesday, the world media is converging on Dearborn. كل الميديا، كل الإعلام المرئي والمسموع والمكتوب جايين على ديربون، جايين يشوفوا شو عم نعمل بديربون، كيف بدنا نرد على هالجرائم اللي عم ترتكبها إسرائيل بمساعدة أمريكا وبإدارة بايدن. شو ردنا نحن؟ كيف بنرد؟ كنا نرد بخلال ال4 أشهر ونص بالمظاهرات، بتحركات طلابية، بجماهيرية، إن نهتف فري بالستاين، وقف إطلاق النار، سيز فاير ناو، نعيط ونصرخ لحتى يسمعونا. ولكن ما في أكثر وأعلى من صوت في صندوق الاقتراع. أعلى صوت ممكن أن تعطيه أو تسمعه اليوم لإدارة بايدن هي بصندوق الاقتراع. شوفوا هالورقة هيدي الصغيرة هيك اللي بتنزل بصندوق الاقتراع، بتوصل صداها إلى واشنطن، إلى البيت الأبيض وإلى كل أنحاء العالم. لذلك ما تستهينوا أبدا بالصوت اللي عندكم. الصوت اللي عندكم هو أقوى من السيف، أقوى من الرصاص اليوم، أقوى من القذائف، أقوى من بطش الإسرائيليين، وأقوى من جبروت نتنياهو هذا الأخوة. لذلك نحن بحاجة إلى كل صوت، إلى كل صوت. بترجيكم، القصة أكبر بكتير من 2-3 ممكن تاخدوها من وقتكم. ما عنا وقت، ما عنا وقت تاني. هذه هي نقطة الفصل.
نعم.
يا أما مننجح يا أما منفشل ومنخلي غيرنا يبكي أكثر ويصرخ أكثر ويتعذب أكثر. ما عاد فينا نتحمل العذاب، ما عاد فينا نتحمل الدمار، ما عاد فينا نتحمل القتل، قتل الأطفال ودماء الشهداء. 30,000، فينا نقول 30,000 بديربون، 30,000 صوت فينا، لأنه نحن حسب الفوتر ريجستريشن، لوائح الاقتراع، نحن بديربون عندنا 72,000 مواطن مسجل للتصويت. 72,000. تصوروا بكرة إذا كان الإعلام قال إنه 30,000 كل شهيد له صوت في صندوق الاقتراع، كل جريح 70,000 جريح له صوت في صندوق الاقتراع. في أعلى من هذا الصوت وأهم من هذا الصوت؟ شو قادرين نعمل نحن؟ يعني هل نبكي على الأطلال بكرة ونقول إنه شعبنا ما استجاب للنداء؟ ما لنداء أسامة السبلاني أبدا، نداء الأطفال،
نعم،
نداء النساء، نداء الجرحى، نداء المليون ونص مهجر، نداء الناس اللي عم بتنام بالخيم بالوحل وبالبرد، نداء الناس اللي واقفة جيعانة، نداء الناس اللي عندها مرض ومش قادرة تلاقي دواء أو تلاقي مستشفى، نداء الأطفال اللي هن بعدهم شيبهم مخزقة بس عم بفتشوا على مدرسة دمرتها إسرائيل. هذا النداء بكرة، هذا اللي نحن طالبينه منكم. 3 دقايق 4 دقايق بيروح الواحد بيصوت وبيجي على البيت مرتاح. شو فيك تعمل أكتر من هيك؟ طبعا فيك تعمل أكتر من هيك. لو كل واحد منا أخذ 10 يصوتوا، تصوروا شو قادرين نعمل. قادرين نعمل ثورة كبيرة جدا في عملية التصويت عم بيصورها العالم كلياته وبيبعتها لكل العالم. موجودين هون بديربون يا أخواننا، كل شيء في إعلام في العالم اليوم موجود بديربون، بأوتيلات ديربون موجودة. ناطرتنا بكرة لنشوف شو بدنا نعمل بصندوق الاقتراع، ناطريننا بكرة لنشوف المعجزة اللي بدنا نعملها بصندوق الاقتراع. أنا شخصيا أنا بؤمن بشعبنا، أنا بؤمن، مش بس بؤمن، أنا بعرف إنه قلوبكم مليانة وعقولكم كل اليوم عم تفكر باللي عم بيصير بغزة، بس كيف بدنا نصرف هيدا بشغلة ممكن إنها تفيد هود الناس المقهورين المعذبين المقبورين تحت التراب تحت الركام. فينا نعمل نعذبهم يعني نساعدهم بانه نروح على صندوق الاقتراع بكره ونصوت. صوت للي بدك اياه. نحن عم نقول صوت undocumented uncommitted ولكن صوت كمان للي بدك اياه، بس ما تصوت لبايدن، لانه بايدن واحد مجرم ساهم في قتل اولادنا وعائلاتنا. هذا يعني انا يمكن كنت شوي ايموشنال لانه بعتقد انه يعني الوقت عم بداهمنا. I think we need to be very blunt about this, that tomorrow after 8 o'clock it will be too late. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear that we've not done it. It will be major disappointment. Go ahead, Khalid.
So when the Biden delegation visited Dearborn, I reached out to the mosques and organizations, and they had one unified message. Do not only not go and meet with them, but we want you to go and send them a message. So I did what you guys asked me to do. You wanted me to say, Genocide Joe, how many kids did you kill today? And I said that. Now it's time for you to deliver. And the way you deliver that message to them is not by me going and screaming outside of the hotel, but by you going and taking your family members, taking your friends, taking ownership of this and going and making that vote. That's number one. Number two, I received some calls from you when you heard Governor Gretchen on CNN using the same tactics that they used in 2020. And that is, look at the alternative, it's Trump. To us as a community, and this is what I heard you saying to me, there is no difference between Trump or Biden at the moment, okay? And also, they scared us about the Muslim ban. And I heard you loud and clear in what you said. We will give up the visa for a Muslim life. So tomorrow is your chance, and it's your turn to deliver by going and voting.
Do we have the? Okay. As soon as we get this on the screen, we're going to go ahead and explain how these.
Yes.
Do we have it on the screen?
Can I say something really quickly? I
Yeah.
think it's really important for our community to understand, because I think this conversation could create a little confusion for what should be happening tomorrow. And I want to name and acknowledge that with so many emotions and everything that's been said, the one thing that we have to remind ourselves is that, like, we're accountable to the kids in Gaza right now and to the innocent lives that have been taken. And what we see that has caught waves, and that, internationally, it's not just Michigan, it's not just conversations happening locally, but this is national and international, and it's all eyes are on Michigan. And I think it's really important, while we want to express our anger and frustration at the polls, we do have to do it in a sense. We have to do it in a very unified way. And right now we have a Democratic president in office, and it's two obligations we have, which is obligation to get the office to call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire, and it's an obligation to let Joe Biden, who's a Democrat, know that Michigan is not aligned with his pro-war stance. We are anti-war, we are pro-Palestinian. In order for us to send a major message, we have to align under the same strategy, which is, you know, if you feel very strongly about how you vote, then I encourage anybody to go vote the way that you want to. But if you're confused on what we should be doing in this very moment between 7 a.m. tomorrow and 8 p.m. tomorrow to show that Dearborn, Muslim American, Arab Americans, and our allies are completely aligned on the same messaging that we are anti-war, pro-peace, and pro-Palestine, then I think the best thing to do to align to the messaging that's been shared abroad is that we need to vote uncommitted, particularly on the Democratic ballot. And if you are somebody that doesn't want to do that, then I urge you and strongly encourage you to vote uncommitted on the Republican side too. You know, and I named the Republican side because I think it's important to ensure that there's the freedom to vote however you wish. But if you are someone who wants to send a resounding message to Biden and his administration, then highly encourage you all to go to the ballots, pull your Democratic ticket, and vote uncommitted under a unified message, not just across Muslim and Arab Americans, but every single ally across Michigan, because this is the conversation that is happening right now.
Yeah, but Lexi, I don't think that we're confusing anybody in here. I appreciate your explanation, and it made it a little bit clearer. However, we're saying vote for anybody but not Biden. So vote uncommitted, but if you want to vote something else, go ahead, do it, but don't vote for Biden. That's the message. It's very clear. It's very clear. So go ahead and let's explain how the ballot's working, because we still have more items to talk about.
So while they're putting that up, it's important also to say that tomorrow, Osama, and as we all know, is the beginning of the work, right?
Right.
A lot of people think tomorrow is the end of a process. It's the beginning of a process. And the process continues until November.
Right.
And we'll have a lot of questions and conversations to have after tomorrow. You know, if we are uncommitted tomorrow, then hopefully we're committed to be against Biden 100% in November. We have to make sure that we keep pushing our community to say there is no way to vote for this genocidal president who has the blood of our children on his hands, not only in Gaza, but here. When he lied about beheaded babies, when he said that we were lying about our statistics, he created an atmosphere that led to the murder of a child in Chicago, got stabbed 26 times. He led to 3 young men getting shot in New Hampshire and a young man getting stabbed in Austin a couple weeks ago. That's the world that we live in. So I see this ballot here. This ballot that are they seeing this on the screen right now? Okay, so this ballot that they see on the screen, I don't know if you can zoom in so I can see we can all see a little bit more of it without the black on the sides, but in any case, the ballot, when you get it, you're going to walk into a polling station. You're going to ask them for a Democratic or Republican ballot.
That's undeclared.
Yeah, that's the no party preference. So go back to the other one. It's okay, just go back to the other one. Yeah, that one is fine. So when you go to your polling place, if you're in Dearborn, like Osama said, there's 3 choices. One choice is a no party preference. That's the one you don't want. The choice the one on the left is the one they're seeing on the screen. No, the one right here. No, go to the other one. Go to the other one. Yeah, go to the other one. Yeah, we want you to pick a ballot that has 3 choices on it: the presidential race, the first millage, and the second millage. If you pick up a ballot that only has 2 choices on it, go back and tell them, no, I want a presidential ballot, okay? Because if you get a ballot that has only 2 choices on it, it's not going to be the presidential ballot. We want a ballot that has 3 options on it: the presidential race, the first millage, and the second millage. Again, we're asking people to vote yes on the 2 millages. And then on the presidential side, that looks like the Republican ballot because it has a lot of names on it. So like Osama told you, we're asking people to either vote uncommitted, or if you feel like you want to do a write-in, that box, the line that you see under uncommitted with a bubble next to it with an empty space, that's the write-in time. By the way, Also, there's people working at the polls. If you have any questions, it's their job to tell you what you need to do. If you need to ask them, hey, I want to write this in. Also, when you submit your ballot, you put it into the machine, and then it's accepted or not accepted. If there's any error on your ballot, it'll spit it back out, and you have to redo it again. So there's many safeguards to make sure that you are.
That's good.
Yeah, and this is the Republican ballot. As you can see, and the Democratic ballot looks the same. It has the names of the candidates on the left, and then an uncommitted at the bottom, and then under the uncommitted, where if you want to write in something you can, you have to bubble that in. Okay, and on the APAC mailer, we put these examples out as well. But we want, like Osama said, go out and vote.
That's a Democratic
anything but Biden. Yeah, this is the Democratic ballot, as you can see. It just has Biden and Dean Phillips on it, or Marianne Williamson as well, and then the uncommitted.
And then under it, there is a circle.
Yep, and then
bubble,
under the uncommitted, you see that other line, the empty line, that's the write-in line if you want to use that. But whatever you do, don't fill in that bubble next to Joseph R. Biden. That is what we are saying. We want to show that people in our communities go out and vote here in Dearborn, and they are not voting for Joe Biden, a man who they overwhelmingly supported and basically put in the White House 4 years ago. We have a chance to do something historic, if you want to come back to all of us now. We have a chance to do something historic, I think, and we all agree in this election, not just in February, but all the way to November. There is a chance for the Arab American community, because of the way we elect a president through the Electoral College and all these things. Michigan might be the state, very good chance, that it is a state that everything comes down to. And the Arab American community throughout the whole state, which we really think is more like 400 or 500,000. I don't care what the census says. They're not telling the truth. We're probably more like 500,000. And a lot of us vote, and more of us vote because of the work we've been doing over the years. We have a chance to decide who becomes president of the United States. And more importantly, we have a chance to send a president who has supported the genocide of our families and mass graves out of the White House. And if we do that, we will guarantee our political power for 50 years. If we are able to do that. That is what we need to be focused on. Tomorrow is the beginning of a process that doesn't end until November, when we are celebrating that this man who has supported the killing of our children is no longer the president of the United States.
It is important between now and November, but tomorrow is very important.
Yes.
Tomorrow is the beginning of an important day in the history of this community. And I think that the history is going to write what happened tomorrow for years to come, and it's going to be a case of a study to all politicians that they want to run in the state of Michigan. Yes.
I want to add something. Many of us, like you and I, and the rest of you were born here, but you and I are probably the only two that were born in Lebanon. We have seen the atrocities of the Israelis. I lived under the Israeli occupation before I came to the United States.
Was destroyed in 1982.
Okay, my house was destroyed 3 times. His grandmothers, both of them, they were killed in Bint Jbeil in the war of 2006. The point I want to make is this, Osama. Tomorrow is an opportunity for us that have been suffering since 1948, for over 7 decades. If each one of us who has been touched since 1948, 1967, 1973, 1978, 2006, if all of us can take 7 members of our family and friends, 7 members, 7 decades, take 7 members of your family or your friends to go out to the polls and vote uncommitted and send President Biden a message. I also want to direct a message to the non-Arab Americans who might be listening to us, our friends and neighbors. Dearborn Heights, we're blessed to live in a very diverse communities. And many of them, they're appalled. They're weeping and they're crying, and they don't like what they see on TV. And they express their solidarity with us. My message to them, if you really want to stand with your neighbors and your friends tomorrow, Joe Biden is not going to lose the presidency tomorrow. but at least come out and support your friends and neighbors by casting an uncommitted vote to send a loud and strong message from Dearborn and Dearborn Heights all the way to Washington, D.C. I respectfully ask all of our friends and neighbors to come out and vote uncommitted. Show your support to your Arab, American, and Muslim neighbors.
Well, Asad, I wanted to talk to you. I want you to tell about your story of your grandparents, how you lost them in the war in 2006. Maybe that will shed some light, because, you know, this has been, each one of us has suffered in one way or the other. I know that you lost both of your grandparents, and I lost my house. He lost his house 3 times, and each one can tell you a story about how much they suffered from the. I'm not from the south of Lebanon. I'm from Baalbek, but my house in Beirut, you know, was totally destroyed in 1982. So go ahead.
You know, living here in America, sometimes we feel like there isn't much we could do for the issues and the crises that are going on overseas. And when we opened up this program, you know, I talked about that one time when I was watching a video on the internet that the people in Palestine were calling for help to the entire world, and there wasn't any help coming. It took me back to a moment. I remember that night laying in bed, and I cried, because it took me back to a moment that in June and July of 2006, the summer of 2006, when Lebanon was being attacked by Israel. And I have family in Lebanon. My grandmother on my mother's side and my grandmother on my father's side were living in Bint Jbeil in southern Lebanon. And the war broke out, and we had some communication with my grandmother. And my grandmother asked me to use my government connections and whatever government connections I had at the time to get her out, because she couldn't get out. And I was unable to do so. And a week later, we got the notification that she was killed by an Israeli airstrike. And the following week, I got the other call that my other grandmother was killed
And
by
both of them-
Israeli
both of them,
bombs.
they stayed under the rubble for like a week, right?
They were under the rubble. They had to bury them out. And tomorrow on election day, when I go vote, I'm voting uncommitted for my grandmothers.
You know, I know that you as a deputy executive for Wayne County that has 43 cities, I know you've been talking to other people, especially in the African American community. And I saw yesterday at a function, there were 25,000 people, that how energized people were when they talked about Gaza, and how they were screaming. All of them were African American, Allahu Akbar, and how they were reacting to the calls to stand up with the Palestinians. So I think that it's not only us.
No, it's not. And I think
But I think we have to lead this fight, but we are not alone in it.
Exactly, Osama. We as Arab American and Muslims, we are a fabric of society, fabric of the United States. We marry other races. We live next door to other races. We work with other races. We work with all humanity. They see us for who we are here in America. And this past summer, we took the county executive to the Middle East.
Right.
And he got a chance to see the homeland of many of his constituents. He walked away from that experience feeling that he's never received the hospitality that he received in our homeland, meeting strangers that opened up their door to feed him. And this is what we do here in America. We open up the doors to our neighbors. Well, tomorrow, and what we seen last night at an event in Detroit where it was 25,000 predominantly African Americans, our African Americans brothers and sisters, you heard a message of unity to stand up with their brothers and sisters of humanity.
In Palestine.
In Palestine. We have to, tomorrow
They would
it's
actually
important.
call it
and-
my Palestinian family.
Yes, of course, he said that many times.
Yeah. So I think that we are at a point right now that has this community has never been. I know that Lexi, you are young not to see how much this community have developed, and has been active in the last 40 years since I became a publisher, and even before. But we are at a point right now where there is an attention on Michigan that is unprecedented, and there are reasons. Maybe people right now listening to us, maybe they don't know why so much attention has been focused on Dearborn. Maybe what we need to do is explain a little bit of why Michigan is such an important state right now, and why Dearborn in particular has been focused on the news, has been focus of the news for several days, because it is important to the election in the state of Michigan. Can you explain it?
Yeah, I mean, I always say that you always have to build on the legends that came before you. And as a younger person in this community, I can't come in and assume that I know everything. I have to rely on the generation that came before me to understand what is the significant path forward. There's a lot of things I didn't experience because I am a little bit younger, but one of the stories that I keep hearing that really stands out to me is under Mayo Guido, when there was the headline of "We have an Arab problem in this community."
Let's talk about the Arab problem.
Or let's talk about the Arab problem. And, what I've seen, or what you see, is there's significant moments that happen in history that really turnkey the way a community responds. And I think that was a significant moment for us, where we realized that in order for us to wield power, we have to be in spaces of power, and we weren't in enough spaces of power. And what we did as a community is we mobilized. We understood that our path to power is voting. We started a whole voter registration movement. We got more Arab Americans to get involved in voting. And now you see that we have 3 mayors. The first, like Abdullah Hamoud, the first Arab American, Muslim American that became the mayor of Dearborn. You have Alabas Farhat. You have Abraham Ayash, who's the majority floor leader. You have commissioners like Sam Beydoun. You have, Sam Beydoun. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to be missing names, but I think that didn't happen because we sat in our homes. That happened because we mobilized, we organized as a community, and we got behind this understanding that in order for us to wield power, we have to put ourselves in positions of power. In order for us to put ourselves in positions of power, we have to understand the power of voting. And what I'm seeing is what happened, unfortunately, in Gaza, and all the lives that we've lost. I have to believe that did not happen in vain. It didn't happen for no reason. And part of what we're seeing is this is another turnkey moment in history of elevating and building on the legends that came before us, and understanding what is the next way we wield power as Arab American and Muslim Americans in this community.
Well, I wanted to elaborate a little bit about the organization, because AIPAC started 26 years and putting a slate out and staying at the polls and pushing some of these elected officials. And I think all of us in here, we were part of this, growing power of the Arab American community. And I'd like to thank Abd Hamoud for starting AIPAC and thinking of AIPAC and organizing. And we were all partners, but he was the head, guy that started the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted you to explain what I've asked.
Yeah.
A little bit elaborate. I think she explained part of it, but there is another part. Let me tell you what the other part is.
Yeah.
That now everybody is coming to Dearborn from all around the world. I can tell you, all around the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a fact.
I spoke to a German journalist today.
German, Italian, Spanish, even Israelis. The Israelis send me a message. They want to interview me. They are so nice, man. I'm telling you.
When are you doing it?
Huh?
When are you doing it?
Well, probably never. Anyway, but why now?
Yeah.
Why Michigan? Why Dearborn?
Sure.
There is a reason for it.
Well, I mean, and as we named all the people that our community has elevated to positions with their own talent, but with the support of the community, of course, we can't forget Rashida, too, who historically won the Congress in 2018. Look, Michigan, let's be clear. Michigan is important tomorrow, because it's important in November. If Michigan wasn't important in November, nobody would care about Michigan tomorrow.
That's correct.
Michigan is important tomorrow because it could be the state that picks the president in November. And because the margins are going to be so tight, remember, Donald Trump won Michigan
By less than 11,000.
11,000 votes in 2016. And Biden, because a lot of people didn't like Trump, won by a bigger margin. But the margin is still so small that it is going to be these swing voters. And that's us as Arab Americans and Muslim Americans throughout the state.
And friends.
And friends and allies, everyone who is, but like you said, we have to lead the way.
Yes.
And we have to be the ones, because I've learned from doing things on stage for a long time that the crowd never gives you more energy than you give it. Mm-hmm. So we have to be the ones that lead the way with the energy. And yes, it is all about November. If we were, not to pick on any state, but Illinois, which is a big state and has a large Arab American community, but if we were Illinois doing a primary tomorrow, nobody would care, because Illinois is going to be a Democratic state in the fall. But Michigan could go either way.
Usually it's Republican.
No, Illinois has been no, Indiana. I'm talking about Illinois. Indiana's Republican. I'm talking about Illinois. Illinois has been Democratic for.
Illinois is a Republican.
No,
Illinois has always been Republican.
you're thinking of Ohio.
Oh, Ohio, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Ohio,
yeah. We are in
69.
America. We
Go
are
ahead,
in
yeah,
America,
yeah.
Osama.
Yeah.
So
Age matters.
so Michigan is important, again, to repeat it. Michigan is important tomorrow precisely because it's important in November. That's why I say the work starts. The work has already started. But as a voter, your work starts tomorrow, but doesn't end until November, because this is the state that could pick the president, and we are the community that could be that deciding factor.
Okay,
and so we have to stay strong.
I wanted to ask you another question.
Yeah.
There are people who think that we can steer Joe Biden between now and November in the right direction. What does Amr Dahar feel about this?
Let me quote one of my favorite people. If Joe Biden stand on his head and bring back 30,000 people, I still will not vote for him.
Are you trying to
I'm doing an impression of my favorite man. And it's very clear that for us, Joe Biden has gone too far. And there is no coming back. I think it's quite clear to me that is the way the vast majority of our community feels.
Because today in the New York Times article, which I've been quoted, I was quoted for the governor piece. That was 2 months ago, by the way. That was published today. They are giving indications that maybe Whitmer can steer this community somehow into the Democratic Party support in November. I don't want to put you on the spot, but but what do you think of this? What do you think the possibilities of turning November into a support Biden because Trump is worse?
I'm sick and tired of choosing the lesser of two evils, and that's where our community's at. And
is he the lesser of two evils?
I mean,
Not sure.
no, seriously.
The worst of the two evils.
I think it's the worse and worse. I mean,
Look, here's what we know. We know that if Trump were president, it could be the same policies, different style, but the same policies. But we would see massive opposition from the Democratic Party. So, I mean, if you're asking me only about Palestine, in some ways I say I would prefer a Republican president, because some Democrats might get a backbone and actually do something. But the reality of the situation is this. We have decided quite clearly, look, if we were to go back and support Biden now, then that means everything that we've ever said before meant nothing. It means that our word would mean nothing going in the future. You tell me how you can endorse Biden after tomorrow or any time in the summer and look at a Palestinian mother in Gaza right in the eyes and tell her that you did that. I don't think you can.
you don't have to look.
I don't think
Palestinian
you can.
mother, you have to look in my eyes.
That's
in your
right.
eyes.
I don't think you can. And finally, look, they think we're going to forget. I mean, I don't know if they know much about Arabs. I mean, we do not forget. We know exactly who came to our wedding, what time they came, if they came late, how much money they gave, if they showed up at 9:30, if they showed up at 11. We know it all.
We
Thank
keep a-
you for
we keep
coming,
a
but
book.
if you came late. That's right.
Right.
You know-
Khaled?
Yeah, what I was going to say about that was it's not easy to even think of doing anything with Biden. Why? In the previous elections, we were his campaign workers. We were his soldiers. We raised money for him. We made enemies because of him in our own community. So we expected something in return. What he did was the opposite. So there's no turning back, because he completely not just failed, he backstabbed us. He said, I don't care about you. And everything he did, tried to fix it, made it worse. He sent a campaign manager. It's like kids are dying on a daily basis. And then he's sending other people to meet with us, not even saying, wait a minute here. We're asking what 60% of the US population are asking, and that is ceasefire. So you're not only insulting us, you're insulting 60% of the US population. So if you're gonna lose, you're gonna lose. And the government does not have any weight in my community, to be honest with you. We would do the opposite of what you ask us to do.
You know, Osama, I wanted to add something. I think it's very important. You sometimes got to look back in history to kind of understand how the future could look like. You know, prior to 2001, I would say a good chunk of this community would have associated more with the Republican Party. 9/11 happened, and Republican administration put policies in place that targeted this community.
And they disassociated.
And what happened was individuals started slowly disassociating with the Republican Party and transitioned to the Democratic Party. And then in 2008, Barack Obama ran for president. And it was the young generation that got behind President Barack Obama, and ultimately leading them to victory. Well, what did that younger generation, the Arab Americans specifically, do? They brought their parents and the older generation along, because in many immigrant communities, the parents don't speak English or read or write the language. They look for their children, like in my case and Al Abbas's case and many other cases. The parents look to their children to guide them when it comes to these issues. And today, what you're seeing is a younger generation that's gonna pull their parents and their older brothers and sisters the other way. Democrats don't have to worry about just 24. They have to worry about an entire generation, and taking an entire state that has had a reputation of having a blue wall could easily turn the other way around if policies of the president, and the president is considered the top person in the Democratic Party. And if these policies don't change, he's going to destruct the Democratic Party in the state of Michigan.
What do you feel about? How do you feel about being a Democrat in the House? Right now, you have a very thin majority. How do you feel about this election? This election is also will be for all the House representatives. You're also on the ballot. So how do you feel about this? You know, the anti-democratic maybe feelings that the community is feeling right now. Of course, we're not saying that we're getting ready to migrate to the Republicans, but there is an ill feeling right now among the community as far as the Democrats are concerned. And how do you see this in the?
You know, I think right now Amr laid out a very clear vision. Osama laid out a very clear vision. I think it would be, in my opinion, you have to look at what the State House has done and separate our work in Lansing, our work at the county, our work at the county commission from the president's work. But that's very tough to do, to your point. It's very tough for people to turn on the television and see a Democratic president put out policies that are very unpopular and then not associate that with other members of the party. I think it's very difficult. Now, I'll say this. In our area in Southeast Michigan, we have Democrats who have the fortitude to speak up. We have Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. We have the mayor of Dearborn, Abdullah Hammoud. We have Asad Turfi and Warren Evans and Sam Beydoun. And I think it's on us as members of that party to push the party that direction. It's on us to get them to recognize policies that we want and see them put them on the table. Not just on the menu, but on the table. But it's tough. I'll be honest, Osama. It is tough in the State House right now, and in Metro Detroit and across the state. President Biden is leaving a lot of vulnerabilities for the party right now.
Thursday I was on Letter Rep, and one of your colleagues was there, and he was very belligerent towards me for many reasons. But he's on the other side. He's on the red side. Right?
No, he's a Democrat.
Is he Democrat?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Are you gonna keep I thought for a minute he's with the Likud.
Well, you can be a Democrat and be with Likud.
Anyway, go ahead.
Look, I mean, the one thing about our community, which I actually love about the Arab American community, I first started getting involved in Michigan politics when I was in college, and the 2000 presidential election was the first one that I was, watching what AIPAC did and watching what our community did, and this history of it.
AIPAC.
Good AIPAC, yeah. The history of it goes very simply. In 2000, the Arab American community in Michigan voted for George W. Bush because Bill Clinton had enforced these anti-terrorism laws, which had secret courts, and Al Gore was for them, and Lieberman was a really bad running mate, and Bush said he would stop them, so we supported Bush. Then 9/11 happened, then he invaded Iraq on a lie, and so we went to Kerry. And then in 2008 and 2012, we voted for Barack Obama because he's Muslim. And then in 2016,
Or at least we thought.
Yeah. And in 2016, by the way, a large segment of our community voted third party. In 2016, a large segment of our community voted third party, neither Clinton nor Trump, because of Clinton's policies on Palestine, and Clinton ended up losing Michigan and the presidency. And then in 2020, we voted for Biden because Trump did the Muslim ban. What's my point? My point is we have never been married to a political party. And that's actually a good thing about our community. We've never been fully married to a political party. And so when Assad talks about the Democrats losing Arab Americans, and he was talking about all voters, but losing Arab Americans especially, it can happen quickly because we're not invested in one party. We're invested in our issues. We're invested in principles and humanity. We're invested in Palestine. Why do you think Bernie came into our communities in 2016 and 2020 and won 80%, 90% of Arab Americans? You think it was because, Jewish man. Why do you think it was because $15 an hour, environmental justice? It was Palestine. He stood strong on Palestine. He didn't even go as far as we wanted him to. And we were able to get everybody out to vote. And that's when we just had somebody who we had to wonder what he would do on Palestine if he became president. Well, now we have a president that we see what he does. He supports a genocide. If anyone thinks that we're not going to be able to mobilize our community to go out there and vote every single one of them against Biden, they really haven't been paying attention to us for 20 years. And let me finally say this. You're going to get a rude awakening if you're a Democrat in November in Dearborn, because I'll tell you what's going to happen. They're going to look at a lot of ballots that say yes to Al Abbas, yes to Sam Beydoun, yes to Rashida, and yes to Trump. And then they're going to have to explain to themselves how that happened.
Yeah. Well,
and a genocide is how that happened.
Before I turn back to you, I wanted to say one thing, just because we're focusing on Dearborn all the time on Dearborn. So people are texting me and saying, look, we in Sterling Heights, this is Kayed Masarwi, said in Sterling Heights, we are part of the community across the state and in full support of the uncommitted stand.
Of course.
So I think we have to.
Dearborn just means Arabs. When we say Dearborn,
we have to.
We need to stop stop saying Dearborn, because Dearborn was where it started.
Sure.
Yeah.
But when you look at Dearborn, you have
Of course.
60,000 Arab. But when you look
But-
at Wayne
but when-
County,
No, the Arab American, you're right.
No, but I have to make it
Wayne
very
County.
clear, very clear, that when we talk about Dearborn, we're talking about the capital of Arab
That's right.
America.
The heartbeat.
So we're not talking about the people in Dearborn
Yes.
alone. We're
Yeah.
talking about people that represent Dearborn everywhere where you go.
That's
you are
right.
part of Dearborn because
right.
Dearborn is the capital of Arab America. So please, no offense whatsoever. We need every vote.
Of course.
I live in West Bloomfield, and I am going to vote in West Bloomfield, and I am going to vote exactly what we just talked in here. And I'm going to encourage 7 people, like Sam said, maybe more than 7, to go out and vote. And you should do that the same way. Go ahead, Abbas.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Ahmed made a very good point. This is not just about February 27th. This is a movement that has been built, that is building momentum, that this momentum is going to run through the finish line of February 27th all the way to the fall election. I also want to say, to Osama's point, 30 plus, 40 plus elected officials and appointed officials have signed on to the uncommitted letter. So it's very important to recognize them, because a good portion of them are not from Dearborn. I don't have the entire list, but I'm just saying, I'm recognizing them right now.
Remember some of them because it's important.
Sam
go
Beydoun
ahead, Sam.
has a very good memory.
And several members from the Hamtramck City Council,
Karen Whitsett,
Karen Whitsett, State
Mayor
Rep,
Abdullah Hamoud.
Mayor Abdullah Hamoud,
Dylan Wagala,
myself,
State Rep,
Al
Livingston.
Abbas, some other non-Arabs in Muslim who signed, Gabriela Santiago, Hassan Berry, Adel Moseb from the Dearborn Public Schools, and also all the trustees, I think maybe with the exception or one, from Dearborn Heights, Crestwood, they signed.
Dearborn Heights Councilman Mobeidoun.
Yeah,
Hassan
Dearborn
Ahmed,
Heights Council members also signed on to the uncommitted letters.
Hassan Saab.
Oh, Rima Mohammed from Ann Arbor, yeah.
But and I think all that, not to get too sidetracked, the point is, this is a coalition that has been built. People can get angry, people can be mad, but one thing I will say about the Arab American community is that we are no strangers to work. We are no strangers to doing the work. We love it. We'll work a 9 to 5, then work 5 to 9 on a side project. Point in case in the studio we're in, right? But this is sincere. People have organized. They've built a coalition of voters who, for the first time, have been forced to grapple with the reality that our country has been enabling 75 years of institutional apartheid in the West Bank, in Gaza, and that now is our chance, and I do believe that the leaders need to have the courage to say this. This is the chance for Arab Americans and our allies in the coalition that exists here in Michigan to push the needle forward on Palestine, on the West Bank, on Gaza, on the Middle East broadly even. Because I'll be honest, look at how the decision-making lays over, they layer, yeah? All the decisions in the Middle East have kind of centered around isolating Palestine, isolating our friends in Gaza, isolating our friends in the West Bank. I'm Amr, you would know better than me. I mean,
the American policy in supporting Israel, and Israel as a project, is something that is against all Arabs, not only against Palestinians. Yeah. Let's be clear. When Zionists march down the street, they don't say death to Palestinians, they say death to Arabs. When they march down the street, they don't say Yasser Arafat is dead, they say Muhammad is dead. When they march down the streets of Jerusalem, they spit on nuns.
Let's be clear about what we're dealing with. A movement that hates all of us as Arabs. Palestine is the forum and the battlefield on which it's being fought, but this is a war against all Arabs and all people who believe in justice and humanity. So we all have to stand up tomorrow and all the way until November and make our voices heard.
Well, I think in closing here, that we have to focus a little bit on humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Brotherhood, but the humanity. Brotherhood and the humanity. I feel with the Ukrainian being invaded by the Russians and bombed by the Russians. And I do not understand, and I said this to the White House delegation, that how could this administration pushes some kind of a proposal in the House and in the Senate that gives $60 billion to the Ukrainians to fight Russian occupation, at the same time gives Israelis $14 billion to continue occupying Palestinians. It just doesn't make sense. And I think that, we are consistent. The administration is not consistent. We believe that Israelis' life is precious, like the Palestinian life. But apparently the Israelis and this administration do not believe that our lives as precious as the Israelis' life. And that is pathetic and very disappointing. So we're talking about humanity and brotherhood. Yes, we are brothers and sisters of the Palestinians, and we are crying inside in pain of what we've seen done to them. But also in humanity, we feel this way about the Syrians, the Iraqis, the Yemenis. They are all brothers and sisters. But also for the Ukrainians and everywhere else, where in South Africa, which is the best Arab country that we have right now. South Africa, the one standing with us, that they don't even look like us, but they feel exactly like we feel, even though they are not our brothers, but because they are our brothers in a humanity. Stand up. Stand up, because if you don't, you will be sitting for the rest of your life. This is your chance to stand up and be counted. And tomorrow is the day. Wednesday, it's over. Tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow is the day for you to stand up. And if you do not stand up, you will be sitting for a while. And you know what you will be doing as well? Is making all of us pay for your laziness. Please, please, go tomorrow and vote for the sake of those children that have died for a good cause. I beg you, all of us in here beg you. You can do it. We can do it. We can deliver 30,000 votes in Dearborn alone. Let's do it tomorrow. Let's show the world what kind of people we are. Because we are good people. We are the people of Jesus and Muhammad and Moses. These are the prophets that came in our land, that were born, raised, and spread their messages in our own land. We are the people that feels with the rest of the world. Tomorrow is the day, 7 a.m. in the morning until 8 p.m. in the evening. I wanted to give our guests in here and our brothers and sisters a chance to say a final word in here. I'm going to start with you, Al-Abbas, to look in the camera, whatever the camera is, and say for 1 minute, please.
I thank you, Osama, for that very powerful appeal. This is our chance. We always want to say, well, we want to do something. This is our chance to do something. This is our chance to show the world that the Arab community here in Michigan is unified, that we have, the votes, we have the passion, and we have the commitment to see this through. Osama, you said it very beautifully. This is our chance to take a stand, otherwise we'll be sitting for a very long time. This is our chance now because we will not have another ballot for 6 months at least, right, to make our voices heard. This is our opportunity. This is our opportunity to push the White House. This is our opportunity to push the Democratic establishment. This is our opportunity to show all of Michigan, to show our allies that have believed that we can build a coalition, that we can deliver, come tomorrow at 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., go out and vote. Do the work, show up, and let's get this done.
Lexi?
Yeah, I would say, 130 plus days, 30,000 lives lost. We've shut down highways. We've protested in front of elected officials' houses. And it's clear that our message is constantly falling on deaf ears. And I think one of the ways to speak to elected officials is through your right and your power to vote. And I think this is a moment in which you can do that. And more importantly, not only does it put Biden and his administration on notice and almost in a sense send a threatening message to them to let them know that Michigan is anti-war and pro-Palestinian, but it also puts Congress on notice. I've said multiple times that, Biden might be the face of this, but there's 80% of Democrats that are calling for a ceasefire and only 4% of Congress that has responded to those calls. And so there's also power in voting down ballot and letting every single person, both in the House and the Senate, 435 seats up for re-election in the House, 33 seats in the Senate that are also up for re-election, putting them on notice that if you are not a candidate that supports human life, if you are not a candidate that is anti-war, if you are not a candidate that is pro-Palestinian, then Michigan is not the place to be running.
Sam?
Thank you, Osama, for having us.
We all have seen horrific images for the last 4.5 months. Certain images have been etched in our memories and impact us differently. For example, like me as a grandfather and a father, some of the images of the dead babies that were pulled from underneath the rubbles of Gaza. Tomorrow I'm going to be going to the polls and I'm going to be casting a vote and I'm going to be thinking of my friend Ayman Abu Aida, the Palestinian pharmacist who lost 90 members of his family in one day. In honor of his family, I will be casting a vote tomorrow. Let all of us, in honor, in memory of all the innocent civilians that were killed in Gaza, come out and pay our respect and cast a vote to the uncommitted tomorrow so we can send Joe Biden a very loud and strong message.
Khalid?
Thank you, Osama. Tomorrow is a defining moment for our community. And as a lot of people said, it's not just the November election. It's not just future elections. To me, tomorrow's election is more important than November because we can stop the killing of children. الأخواننا في الجالية اليمنية سبحان الله من الذي قال إنه جاليتنا في دربن وباب المندب بيكون له دور حتى نعلن للعالم تضامننا مع غزة، والطريقة الوحيدة الآن لجاليتنا نعلن تضامننا مع غزة هو تصويتكم غدا. شكرا.
Thank you, Osama. Thank you to all my colleagues here that participated in this town hall roundtable discussion. Tomorrow's a very important day, just like Dr. Cade and many of my other colleagues here have expressed. It's important because 30,000 dead people, and this is our moment to pay tribute to those that gave their life, martyrs in all this. They sacrificed. Next week, we're about a week and a half, 2 weeks away from Ramadan, the start of Ramadan, where many of us will be fasting and going all day, sunrise to sunset without food and water. There's people living in Gaza right now with very little water and very little food. Imagine how Ramadan is going to be for them. It's an even additional struggle. We have to go tomorrow and vote, and it's very important to vote because we need to send a message loud and clear, and we need to stop the killing of innocent people. We can't wait any longer. Elected officials listen to two things: money when it goes into their campaign and votes in the ballot box. And tomorrow you have one of those two options to do. And we could decide this election in November, but we can't wait till November. We got to do it tomorrow.
Osama, I'm sorry, you gotta allow me, please.
Sure.
I would be remiss if I don't mention our brothers and sisters أهلنا بلبنان in South Lebanon. In South Lebanon, many of the villages and the cities, many of the residents have left, and many children have been killed indiscriminately. So تحية لأهلنا بلبنان كمان بجنوب لبنان.
And that's what I was gonna say. If you ask me who I'm voting for tomorrow,
It's very simple to me. I'm voting for our brothers and sisters in Lebanon who have been protecting our northern border and dying for it. I'm voting for our brothers and sisters in Yemen who have said there will be no business as usual during a genocide, who have put a price on this genocide to the world economy, and who have also died as a result. They've killed nobody, and they've died as a result because this president has acted like a gangster when it came to them. I'm voting for everyone in Gaza, the people who have been so courageous to show us the truth, whether their name is Bisan or Hind or Mu'taz or Lema or Wa'il Dahdouh, who lost so much of his family. I'm voting for Zakaria, who was stabbed in Austin on February 4th after a rally that I spoke at. Just a few hours later, he was stabbed. I'm voting for Kinan and Tahsin and Hisham, who were shot in Vermont during Thanksgiving weekend. I went and visited Hisham in Boston, who now he can't walk because he was wearing a kafiyeh. And I'm voting for Wadia, who just 10 days after October 7th was stabbed 26 times in Chicago by somebody who was full of hate. This is what our votes mean tomorrow, from tomorrow all the way until November. And we have to make our voices heard. And that means go out and vote and make sure that this war criminal, this person who has funded our genocide, hears that he is never going to get our support again.
Thank you. And also, we have to thank the people of Iraq for their sacrifices.
Of course.
And Syria as well. And we thank everyone around the world that participated in a demonstration, raised their voices against the killing in Gaza. Everywhere around the world, every capital, in every corner, in the four corners of this world, there has been a tremendous support, an unprecedented support for the Palestinians. And we thank them for all of their support, because it was a significant support that has turned the public opinion in the world for the Palestinian for the first time at this level. And for them, today we say thank you, and we're gonna go tomorrow to the polls and to say thank you for what you're doing, and look what we're doing. Look what we're gonna be doing tomorrow. We're gonna be voting tomorrow, uncommitted, against Biden, once and for all. We are going to start our campaign tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's not gonna end until November, the final and the general election, and we're gonna bring Biden down as a result of his genocide in Palestine. Now, we have talked a lot. We have begged a lot. Are we gonna see you tomorrow? Are we going to see you tomorrow? I'm not hearing you, but I hope you're hearing me. I hope that you are hearing me, because I cannot beg you enough. So until tomorrow, thank you very much.
Thank you, Osama.
Thank you, Abbas Shab. I did thank him in the middle of the conversation, but I have to thank him, and I have to thank Ismail for their hard work everywhere. Wherever you go, whatever you do, you have Abbas Shab on your side. You will win.